Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and the Harbor Freight brand Doyle has this 14-in-1 precision screwdriver nut driver set. The part number on this thing is 70707, and obviously the lifetime warranty. Here's what's in the thing. You can stop it and look if you need to. Now, the Harbor Freight often compares their stuff directly to some other tool and explains why it's less money. In the case of this Doyle precision screwdriver 14-in-1, they compare it directly to this Klein 32314. And the 32314 is, as far as I can tell, darn near identical. The cap, it's pretty much the same. They've done, instead of having these little ribs stick out, you know, they're holes. Obviously, there's a little bit of difference in the rubber coating, the way it looks, but there's so much that is darn near identical. So much so they're interchangeable. They both say 14-in-1 on the spinning tail cap on the back. Now there are all kinds of these multi-precision screwdrivers. These are not my favorite, and here's why. First of all, most of the time I really like a nice simple design. This one's kind of my electronics Road Warrior style because it's got this shroud that slides up and can cover the bit, and you can pop this bit out and reverse it. If you want a little bit longer reach, and in fact you can slide the shroud out and then you can get some, you know, finger control even though you've got a little bit longer shaft there. Milwaukee does much the same thing with their set. I can flip this thing around. However, they put it in a box, and then that box you can close so you're not going to poke anything, just like if I flip this around and close it up. There you go. So two different ways of handling it. All of these are 3.5mm bits. Now 4mm seems to be the standard with these like iFixits, and sometimes you see 4mm in all kinds of other tools versus the 1/4 inch like in this Icon set, which is another route you can go. And there is even another, this one here, if I measure it, this isn't a 1/4 inch. That's 5.89mm, or what is it? About 15/64 for this. And the reason is, in this set, these are insulated. And if they're insulated, you don't want to accidentally slip a bit in there that is not and mess up something. But anyway, back to these guys. The reason I'm a little hesitant about using these is because, well, let's pop these apart and take a closer look at it. Here are the nut drivers, no problems there. I'm going to pull all the bits out here, and then you can see what all these look like. They are all marked, so I've got 9/64 on this side and on this side, so those two bits are going to be the same size. And then on this one I've got 5/32 and 3/16, and then I've got my larger shaft here with 1/4 and 7/32. So you got to flip these things around to get them to fit. But if you take a look at these bits, I'm going to go back to millimeters here, zero it out. So here's one, and I'm not going to catch that ball bearing in it. What do we have? We've got 4.74 for that one, 3.49 for that one. That's another 3.49 or 3.5 for that. And then this one is 4.47. So there are three different sizes there, which means if you are using these and flipping them around and taking them apart, you're going to spend a moment trying to get these back together, figuring out where they go. Now, is that the end of the world? No, and you get pretty good at it after a few uses, but it certainly is not as smooth as if you are using one of the others. And what I found interesting about this was the price point on this, you know, at $11.99, is not too much lower than about the $15 for the Klein. And then some of these larger, you know, 27-in-1s are $20, $17.99. I mean, they're not very expensive tools, and those are Amazon prices. So going into the market with something like this, you know, with this price being very close, I can see why they probably just called up the company that makes this one and said, hey, you want to make one in red and put our name on it? And they're like, sure. And there you go. In fact, these shafts, as you can see, are interchangeable. In fact, the bits are almost identical. So if we pull out two of these, whoops, the same bit here, and look at the markings are identical except on the Harbor Freight or the Doyle one, they are both pressed in. Those aren't laser etched, but the Klein is a little bit deeper. So maybe that's where they saved a bit of money. Maybe in the way this cap, you can see the play in the cap there versus the play in the cap here. A lot more. So, you know, that's a couple of bucks right there maybe. Looks like the amount of materials are all the same. Maybe red is a little cheaper than Klein yellow. I don't know. But otherwise, they look almost identical. If you look, in fact, if I pull these off, this is another interesting one. If we go to the printing, looks the same to me. There's one difference, that the Klein puts it on the side that has the ball bearing, and the Harbor Freight or the Doyle, the ball bearing is on the opposite side. So there are teeny weeny little differences, but other than that, I mean, that laser etching there, that just looks so close. The thickness of the 7, that 2 maybe is a little different. And then this doesn't look like it's finished. This is the Doyle here. Doesn't look like it's finished as much. You can see those tool marks from the spinning where the Klein is polished. You can still see maybe some lines really close, but anyway, about the same. In fact, for all intents and purposes, I would guess they're the same. You can check. Well, anyway, these are both useful, but I find these larger ones even more useful. Just simply because I don't have to manage all the bits, flipping them around. But if I have my choice, I always go back to, you know, the fixed set if that's available. But the others are quite handy. Anyway, I thought I'd bring that one to your attention if you haven't seen the new Doyle 14-in-1. There it is. And with that, dock out.